The integrity of our very important 2020 election. If you count the legal votes, I easily win. If you count the illegal votes, they can try to steal the election from us. If you count the votes that came in late, we're looking at them very strongly, but a lot of votes came in late. I've already decisively won many critical states, including massive victories in Florida, Iowa, Indiana, Ohio. To name just a few, we won these and many other victories despite historic election interference from big media, big money, and big tech. As everybody saw, we won by historic numbers. And the pollsters got it knowingly wrong. They got it knowingly wrong.
No
We had
evidence
polls
of
that
that.
were so ridiculous, and everybody knew it at the time. There was no blue wave that they predicted. They thought there was going to be a big blue wave. That was false. It was done for suppression reasons, but instead there was a big red wave,
There wasn't.
and it's been properly acknowledged actually by the media. They were,
Nope.
I think, very impressed, but
he
that
would
was
be
after the
surfing
fact.
if there
That
was a
doesn't
red
do us
wave.
any good. We kept the Senate despite having twice as many seats to defend as Democrats, and in a really much more competitive states, we did a fantastic job with the Senate. I think we're very proud of what's happened there. We had many more seats to defend. They spent almost $200 million on Senate races in South Carolina and Kentucky alone, 2 races, and hundreds of millions of dollars overall against
Pennsylvania
us.
should interrupt
At the
right now.
national level, our opponents' major donors were Wall Street bankers and special interests. Our major donors were police officers, farmers, everyday citizens. Yet for the first time ever, we lost 0 races in the House. I was talking to Kevin McCarthy today. He said he couldn't
That's fine. I'm okay with that. If that's going to be the trade-off, I'm perfectly happy.
believe it. 0 races, very unusual thing, 0. And actually won many new seats with, I think, many more on the way. This was also the year
Okay.
of the Republican woman. More
Remember, seats in the House mean nothing. Nothing at all. The minority in the House has no power whatsoever. So give them 30.
Republican women were elected to Congress than ever before. That's a great
The Republicans in Congress will have more QAnon members than they will African Americans.
achievement. I won the largest share of non-white voters of any Republican in 60 years, including historic numbers of Latino, African American, Asian American, and Native American voters, the largest ever in our history. We grew our party by 4 million voters, the greatest turnout in Republican Party history. Democrats are the party of the big donors, the big media, the big tech, it seems, and
Not until
Republicans
now.
have become the party of the American worker, and that's what's happened. And we're also, I believe, the party of inclusion, as everyone now recognizes media polling.
Yeah, they just don't want to include you. Holy crap, David Perdue, the Republican in Texas, the Senate nominee, has to get 50%. He just fell to 49.9. So we will have 2 runoffs in Georgia.
Was election interference in the truest sense of that word by powerful special interests. These really phony polls, I have to call them phony polls, fake polls, were designed to keep our voters at home, create the illusion of momentum for Mr. Biden, and diminish Republicans.
Why would that keep anybody at home? That's kind of on them. Oh, it's going to be close. Oh, the Biden's ahead. Well, I'm going to go out and support my guy. No, it doesn't suppress anybody.
Ability to raise funds. They were what's called suppression polls. Everyone knows that now.
No.
And it's never been used to the extent that it's been used on this last election.
But yes, the polls are useless. That's been established. The polls should not even exist anymore. They're a joke.
To highlight just a few examples, the day before election, Quinnipiac, which was wrong on every occasion that I know of, had Joe Biden up by 5 points in Florida, and they were off by 8.4 points, and I won Florida easily. So they had me losing Florida by a lot, and I ended up winning Florida by a lot. Other than that, they were very accurate. They had
That's his line.
him up 4 points in Ohio, and they were up by 12.2 points. And he also won Ohio, great state of Ohio, very easily. The Washington
wasn't
Post
easy.
had
It
Biden
wasn't
up
until the end of
17
the night.
points in Wisconsin, and it was basically even. They were off by about 17 points, and they knew that. They're not stupid people.
How'd they do on Pennsylvania? What'd they say about Pennsylvania and Arizona, and Nevada, and Georgia? What'd they say about those?
They knew that. Suppression. There are now only a few states yet to be decided
Oh, Trump is feeling suppressed.
in the presidential race. The voting apparatus of those states are run in all cases by Democrats. We were winning in all the key locations by a lot, actually. And then our numbers started miraculously getting whittled away in secret.
It was a miracle.
And they wouldn't allow legally permissible observers. We went to court in a couple of instances, and we were able to get the observers put in. And when the observers got there, they wanted them 60, 70 feet away, 80 feet, 100 feet away, or outside the building to observe people inside the building. And we won a case, a big case, and we have others happening. There are lots of litigation, even beyond our litigation. There's tremendous amount of litigation generally because of how unfair this process was. And I predicted that.
So
I've been
unfair.
talking about
Yeah.
mail-in voting for a long time. It's really destroyed our system. It's a corrupt system. And it makes people corrupt even if they aren't by nature. But they become corrupt. It's too easy.
It's essentially, it's the ring. And you put it on, and then you're invisible. And then all you want to do is live in a cave and eat fish. That's what happens to all my. They were in caves. They'll come out of the rivers, and they come out of the mountains, and they come from the valleys, but they won't come out of caves. And that's the thing.
They want to find out how many votes they need, and then they seem to be able to find them. They wait, and then they find them. And you see that on election night. We were ahead in vote in North Carolina by a lot, tremendous number of votes. And we're still ahead by a lot, but
Okay.
not as many.
Okay.
Because they're finding ballots all of a sudden. Oh, we have some mail-in ballots. It's amazing how those mail-in ballots are so one-sided, too. I know that it's supposed to be to the advantage of the Democrats, but in all cases, they're so one-sided. We were up by nearly 700,000 votes in Pennsylvania. I won Pennsylvania by a lot, and that gets whittled down to, I think they said now we're up by 90,000 votes, and they'll keep coming and coming and coming. They find them all over.
Yeah.
And they don't want us to have any observers, although we won a court case. The judge said you have to have observers. Likewise in Georgia, and they're appealing. Actually, they're appealing. We won a case that we want people to watch, and we want observers, and they're actually appealing, which is sort of interesting. I wonder why they'd appeal, that all we want to do is have people watch as they do the vote tabulations. Likewise in Georgia, I won by a lot, with a lead of over getting close to 300,000 votes on election night in Georgia. And by the way, got whittled down, and now it's getting to be.
Well, you've been speaking. It's been whittled down to 73,000 votes in Pennsylvania. So
To a point where I'll go from winning by a lot to perhaps being even down a little bit. In Georgia,
wow,
pipe
MSNBC
burst
isn't. Come on, MSNBC should be carrying this, for the love of God.
in a faraway location, totally unrelated to the location of what was happening, and they stopped counting for 4 hours, and a lot of things happened. The election apparatus in Georgia is run by Democrats. We also had margins of 300,000, and
The election Secretary of State in Georgia is a Republican.
Michigan, we're way up in Michigan, won the state. And in Wisconsin, we did likewise fantastically well.
Until the votes were counted. Yeah, it did. Really, really good.
And that got whittled down. In every case, they got whittled down. Today, we're on track to win Arizona. We only need to carry, I guess, 55% of the remaining.
So one candidate is out there today saying, hey, America, please be patient. This is how the process works. Let's all come together. We need to heal as a country. This guy is like, well, the Democrats, they're just secret. It's very secret. They won't tell me anything. I think there's a birthday party planned, and I'm not even invited.
Vote 55% margins, and that's a margin that we've significantly exceeded. So we'll see what happens with that, but we're on track to do okay in Arizona. Our goal is to defend the integrity.
I don't understand. We kicked 8 field goals. They only had 5 touchdowns. And with our 8 field goals, we really, I mean, that's 8. And 8, if you check, is bigger than 5. So really, it's so unfair. David Mickelson says, we were winning, but they were allowed to secretly score multiple touchdowns in the last few minutes of the game. We dominated before halftime. We dominated, and then at halftime, they suddenly got players, secret players.
Of the election will not allow the corruption to steal such an important election, or any election for that matter. And we can't allow.
And the same thing, our baseball team was ahead, and then they were allowed to steal, and he's still home, and suddenly the game is over, and that's just not right. There's no stealing in baseball.
Allow anybody to silence our voters and manufacture results. I've been doing a lot of public things for a long time. I've never had anything that's been as inspirational, by people calling, talking, sending.
What he doesn't realize is sexual assault should not be public. That is not something you talk about.
Things to us. I've never seen such love and such affection and such
affection. People chanting at him and yelling in the cold. That to him is affection, and that tells you all you need to know about Trump's childhood.
Spirit, as I've seen for this. People know what's happening, and they see what's happening, and it's before their eyes. And there are many instances which will be reported very shortly. There's tremendous litigation going on, and this is a case where they're trying to steal an election. They're trying to rig an election, and we can't let that happen. Detroit and Philadelphia.
Well, the election would have already been rigged, and if they rigged it, they wouldn't have to steal it, and if they're stealing it, they wouldn't have to if they rigged it. Do we not?
Philadelphia, known as 2 of the most corrupt political places anywhere in our country, easily cannot be responsible for engineering the outcome of.
I'm just impressed that he can translate this so quickly from the original Cyrillic. I'm impressed.
A presidential race, a very important presidential race. In Pennsylvania, Democrats have gone to the state Supreme Court to try and ban our election observers, and very strongly. Now, we won the case, but they're going forward. They don't want anybody in there. They don't want anybody watching them as they count the ballots. And I can't imagine why. There's absolutely no legitimate reason why they would not want to have people watching this process, because if it's straight,
there's no problem with people watching.
They should be proud of it. Instead,
it's being live streamed.
Trying, obviously, to commit fraud. There's no.
Well, there's this thing called the coronavirus pandemic. Hold on a second. See this number? This number right here? That's the number of Americans that have died from said coronavirus, and it's transmitted person to person. And guess what kind of people are the most likely to have it? Your people. That's what we're saying. Literally, you live in the worst hotspot on the planet.
No question about that. In Philadelphia, observers have been kept far away, very far away, so far that people are using binoculars to try and see, and there's been tremendous problems caused. They put paper on all of the windows so you can't see in, and the people that are banned are very unhappy and become somewhat violent.
240,000.
The 11th Circuit ruled that in Georgia, the votes have been in by Election Day, that they should be in by Election Day, and they weren't. Votes are coming in after Election Day.
No.
And they had a ruling already that you have to have the votes in by Election Day. To the best of my knowledge, votes should be in by Election Day.
Yeah, they were.
And they didn't do that. Democrat officials never believed they could win this election, honestly. I really believe that. That's why they did the mail-in ballots, where there's tremendous corruption and fraud going on. That's why they mailed out tens of millions of unsolicited ballots without any verification measures whatsoever. And I've told.
Well, no, people have to register to vote, and then their signature's on file, and then the signature has to match. So, you know.
Told everybody that these things would happen because I've seen it happen. I watched a lot of different elections before they decided to go with this big, massive election with tens of millions of ballots going out to.
So they decided to have a big election for the country? Wow.
Everybody, in many cases totally unsolicited. This was unprecedented in American history. This was by design, despite years of claiming.
Holy crap. Yeah, during his speech, you're absolutely right. Thanks for pointing that out, Lizzie Dog. Trump is now up he's only up by 3,600 votes in Georgia. 36-35 to be exact. I called Georgia yesterday, people, and I stand by it, even though those numbers have been squeezed. And the original numbers that they put out there way overestimated how many votes were left. But yeah, they're almost all heavily favored for Biden.
They care about the election security. They refuse to include any requirement to verify signatures, identities, or even determine whether they're eligible or ineligible to vote.
Lizzie says that Biden gained 11,000 votes, Trump only 5,000. So that is greater than the margin that he needs to continue for the remainder of the votes in order to overtake Trump. And what I said was he would overtake Trump in the 99th percentile. They are now at the 98th percentile of votes counted.
Oh, people are walking in there. They have no idea.
Shall we cut to, let's see, we can go right to Kernak if we want to. Let's hold on that. Let's stay with Trump.
They're just taking numbers. They're writing
down things.
Do you guys want
to cut to
the workers,
Kornacki, or do we
doing
want
a lot of bad things, and we have a lot of information coming and litigation that you'll see that will shake even you people up, and you've seen it all. The officials overseeing the counting in Pennsylvania and other key states are all part of a corrupt Democrat machine that you've written about, and for a long time you've been writing about the corrupt Democrat machine. I went to school there, and I know a lot about it. It hasn't changed. It's a long time ago, and hasn't changed. It's gotten worse. In Pennsylvania, partisan Democrats have allowed ballots in the state to be received 3 days after the election.
Pennsylvania's so corrupt. I went to school there, and I paid people to take all my tests, and it was so corrupt. It was so wrong, and it's gotten worse. It's far worse.
And we think much more than that. And they're counting those without even postmarks or any identification whatsoever.
Yeah.
So you don't have postmarks, you don't have identification.
Well, it's hard to do the identification via mail. Please send in your passport and yourself so that we can compare.
There have been a number of disturbing irregularities across the nation. Our campaign has been denied access or any identification whatsoever. So you don't have postmarks, you don't have identification.
Yeah.
There have been a number of disturbing irregularities across the nation.
Well, if there's been irregulars, those are the scary ones. The jagulars and the heffalumps are the ones to watch out for. But the irregulars, they'll sneak up on you.
Campaign has been denied access to observe any counting in Detroit. Detroit is another place.
He's very low in the polls right now, Dennis.
I wouldn't say has the best reputation for election integrity. Poll workers in Michigan were duplicating ballots, but when our observers attempted to challenge the activity, those poll workers jumped in front of the volunteers to block their view so that they couldn't see what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it became a little bit dangerous. One major...
So that would be a felony, a federal felony, and a state felony, and they would go to prison for 10, 15, 20 years for duplicating a ballot. I don't know if it's worth that, but yeah, I'm sure.
Hub for counting ballots in Detroit covered up the windows again with large pieces of cardboard.
Because people were banging on the windows. The Trump supporters were there banging on the windows, causing a cacophony essentially in an aquarium.
And so they wanted to protect and block the counting area. They didn't want anybody seeing the counting, even though these were observers who were legal.
Thank you. Here, Takeda points out that in Maine, it's 5 years, $5,000 for each count of election fraud.
Legal observers that were supposed to be there. In Detroit, there were hours of unexplained delay in delivering many of the votes for counting. The final batch did not arrive until 4 in the morning. and
Had not
even
arrived?
though the polls closed at 8 o'clock, so they brought it in, and the batches came in, and nobody knew where they came from. We've also
That was a photographer's equipment. There's this theory going out that there's strange equipment in strange ballots in this little red wagon. It was a photographer pulling his own equipment in the little red wagon, and the wagon was red. You know, that's Trump wagon.
been denied access to observe in critical places in Georgia.
Thomas R is correct. They were also over capacity in many of the counting rooms because there's a virus. The 240,000 dead. There. Huh?
Multiple swing states counting was halted for hours and hours on election night, with results withheld from major Democrat-run locations only
Right.
to appear
Well, sometimes it takes hours and hours to count millions and millions of votes. That's
later, and they suddenly appeared, and they all had the name Biden on them, or just about all. I think almost all. They all had the name Biden on them,
well, those are votes for Biden then.
which is a little strange. I challenge Joe and every
I mean, they also had the name Trump on there as well. All those ballots did. That's how ballots work.
Democrat to clarify that they only want legal votes, because they talk about votes, and I think they should use the word legal votes.
still going.
We want every legal vote counted, and I want every
drinking
legal
word,
vote
legal.
counted. We want openness and transparency, no secret count rooms, no mystery ballots, no illegal votes
Mystery
being
ballots.
cast after Election Day.
Yeah.
You have Election Day, and the laws are very strong on that. You have an Election Day,
Oh, yeah?
and they don't want votes cast
Guys, did anyone know there was an election day?
after Election Day, and they want the process to be an honest one. It's so important. We want an honest election, and we want an honest count,
Yeah.
and we want honest people working back there, because it's a very
Sure.
important job. So
Yeah.
that's the way this country is going to win. That's the way the United States will win, and we
Yeah.
think we will win the election very easily. We think there's going to be
It's gonna
a
be
lot
easy?
of litigation.
It's 2 years, two days later. 2 years feels like 2 years. That was a Freudian slip, or a Trumpian slip, if you will. But yeah, it feels like 2 years. It's 2 days later, and he's giving a press conference on how everything is rigged and crooked, and the election is corrupt. But it's going to be very easy. Just so it's going to be a breeze. It's all downhill from here.
Because we have so much evidence, so much proof, and it's going to end up perhaps at the highest court in the land.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah.
But we think there'll be a lot of litigation, because we can't have an election stolen like this. And I tell you, I have been talking about this for many months with all of you, and I've said very strongly that mail-in ballots are going to end up being a disaster. Small elections were a disaster. Small, very easy to handle elections were disastrous. This is a large-scale version, and it's getting worse and worse every day. We're hearing stories that are horror stories, absolute horror stories, and we can't let that
Well, the trouble is he's confused because it was just Halloween.
happen to the United States of America. It's not a question of who wins, Republican, Democrat, Joe, myself. We can't let that happen to our country. We can't be disgraced by having something
Lizzie, what were you saying? Which county is outstanding in Georgia?
like this happen. So it
Tell me it's Clayton County, please.
will be hopefully cleared up, maybe soon, I hope soon, but it'll probably go through a process, a legal process. And as you know, I've claimed certain states, and he's claiming states, and we can both.
Savannah, Clayton County is a large county in Georgia, heavily populated, and it is plus 71 for Biden right now. Plus 71. So that's higher, much higher than the margin he needs in order to overtake. Just depends on how many votes are there. Floyd County is only at 89%. That's Trump plus 42, but that is a much, much smaller county. And even in the counties where Trump does well in the overall vote, the late votes coming in, the absentee votes, are leaning towards Biden.
Claim the states, but ultimately I have a feeling judges are going to have to rule. But there's been a lot of shenanigans, and we can't stand for that
There
in
it
our
is.
country. Thank you very much.
No questions. Look at that tirelessly walking out here. Look at this. Watch as he walks out. He grabs the pole. He can barely get down the stage.
Both claim the states.
He's just so like, and we're looking into it very closely.
But ultimately, I have a feeling judges are going to have to rule. But there's been a lot of shenanigans, and we can't stand for that in our country.
No.
Thank you very much.
What a sad night for the United States of America to hear their president say that, to falsely accuse people of trying to steal the election, to try to attack democracy that way with this feast of falsehoods. Lie after lie after lie about the election being stolen. No evidence for what he's saying, just smears about the integrity of vote.
So what we're gonna do is we're gonna count all the votes. We're gonna make sure that everything is fair, and we're just gonna. So thank you very much. I hate this house. I hate this house. What was that? What? What is going on with the president? Look at this. He holds a. This is what you do. This is what you do when you're leaving somewhere and you're never coming back. You touch things. You put your hand, just that tactile. I'm gonna miss you, Mr. Pillar. You know, I know the My Pillar guy. I know the guy who made you. He saved me with the coronavirus, with the oleanders. It's just, yep.
What a sad night for the United States of America to hear their...
Damn right, Jake. Let's take a look at the Karnak, see what's going on in Karnakville. We'll go back on Karnak because I'm much more interested in the election results than what this buffoon was saying. Let's join live and go backtrack from there. Hold on, here comes
the suburbs. Those are places like Bucks County, Montgomery.
Quiet for a second, and PA is too close to call. We know that. We'll take a look at PA in a second. Let's first get a little bit of analysis from the Karnak.
Overall for Biden, that is math that, you know, we're ballparking this year, but that is math that would allow Biden to vault ahead in the statewide count.
Really quickly, Steve, if you could do a couple more. You did Clayton.
Yep.
Did you do Richmond and Bibb yet?
Let's go back. Let's go back.
5,000 here. Just let's say Trump.
Let's find the beginning of the Karnak. Let's go back on Karnak, shall we? Back up Karnak. One more time. Okay, nope. Still? Okay, now it's just black. Black on Karnak. Come on.
We should be expecting
my preview windows
somewhere in the
not showing.
now.
Still back. Okay. Holy smokes. All right, let's go back again. Oh, he's doing like a 20-minute segment here. Oh, this is so weird.
Now it.
Okay, still back.
100.
County, Steve.
Rachel, this was the biggest one that was outstanding here. Chatham County, this is
Okay, sorry, the preview window. It doesn't matter. Here we go.
Savannah, Georgia, we're talking about here. So we were saying we expected that mail, that absentee vote to be coming in. It just came in, and let me take you through what happened and what it means. Let me put a darker color here so you can all see it on the screen. Right now, we just got the vote reported out. Joe Biden picked up 11,148 votes in Chatham County, and Donald Trump picked up 5,578 votes. So you can see the net gain there that Biden takes out of this county is 5,570. Biden netted 5,570 votes from Chatham County. It looks like Chatham County now is basically done, as basically all the votes there have now been counted. So what does that advantage for Biden do to the statewide lead? Remember,
okay,
it was
so Chatham's
9,400 before. Now it's come down to 3,635. The other thing we got, too, in that time, a couple hundred votes from Clayton County outside Atlanta came in. Again, they overwhelmingly went for Biden. So you add a couple.
So he's picked up 2/3, which is exactly what he needs to do there.
Couple hundred more there. This is now sitting at a Trump lead of 3,635. 35 votes in the entire state of Georgia. That is 0.1%. And of course, I tell you, Chatham County is now all in. So what's now left? We were all waiting on Chatham a minute ago. Let's just pull this one up again. Where's the remaining vote? Here you go. And, you know, I mentioned it. Okay, got Henry County right here. That's not where I'm supposed to go.
No,
there we go. We got Clayton County. That's what I wanted to
Plus
get
71
in there. Clayton
Biden.
County is one we just got a couple hundred votes from. You can see this is an overwhelmingly Democratic county here. Biden just won the lion's share of that vote that just came out there. So there are opportunities right here in the Atlanta metro area for Joe Biden to make further gains. But again, a county like this, let me call this up. Floyd, this is small, and I think... Let me give you the exact number of votes we're expecting here. This is a Republican county, you can see, and Trump may actually do well on these mail ballots here. We'll see. We're expecting 682 votes out of Floyd County, 682 mail votes. So again, if Trump is winning those, if he is able to win those at a good clip, he could make some gains there. So this is a situation here. There are some clear opportunities left here for
That's 477 votes
Joe
swing
Biden
for
to
Trump.
make further gains in some big population.
Although expect the mail-in votes to lean more heavily to the Democrats. So maybe 400 votes coming out of there for Trump, but there's way too many votes coming out for Biden. It depends on how many votes are left. By the way, I've been monitoring Georgia all day, doing the stats and running every scenario, etc. And about halfway through the day, they had another press conference, and it's all screwed up. They weren't sure how many votes were left where, so...
Democratic places. There may also be opportunities here for Donald Trump to sort of make gains of his own. So the name of the game right now for either of these, for Trump, it is to stay above, just 3,635. Don't let Biden get in front of you. And for Biden, it's to get enough out of the Atlanta metro area right now and maybe perhaps overperform in Republican areas. That's a big question mark.
Video's going super great. Thanks for asking, Stephanie. I hadn't touched it since Election Day. 25,000 total votes left to count in Georgia. Okay, so let's just do the quick math on that. So 25,000, we're down by how many? Let's see, 25,000. And if we get 66% of those, you're looking at a 16,500 vote margin. So it's the 3,500. Oh my God. It's going to come down to a vote.
Here, I think, and to try to get ahead of Donald.
Yeah, if he's going at 60, it depends on which counties are coming in. If he's coming in a county with 84%, he gets it easily. If they're coming in a mix of counties, it's off the board. But yeah, if he can pull in, he's been pulling in since about 90% of the vote count. Biden's been pulling in at a track between 84 and 87%. That's why he's been catching up so rapidly. All he has to do is continue that, and it puts him over the top in maybe the next batch.
Donald Trump, and that's
now, once they go back and they do the legal votes, it's Trump's race. That's what I heard.
Statewide count, but it is, boy, Democrats have been eyeing Georgia for decades. They are 3,636 votes away from actually having a lead in Georgia.
Steve, can I just ask you to go back to those very hard to see bubbles?
Yes.
I know it's like dark blue with a gray bubble.
I can actually zoom them in.
Can you? Because what I want to know is what else is in those, is outstanding vote in the Atlanta area beyond, you mentioned Clayton County.
Yep.
There's a number of other significant size bubbles there.
Yeah, let's take you through these, and okay, good, it didn't move. That was perfect. Clayton County is left, and we just picked up 300 votes from there, so there should still be 7,000 votes or so to come from Clayton County.
Okay.
Now, this, again, Biden is winning Clayton County with like 85% of the vote right now. So keep that.
He's also winning the popular vote by 4 million votes, almost. But yeah, it's going to come down to a handful of rednecks south of Savannah somewhere.
That one in mind. DeKalb County, I'm trying to find the number on here. DeKalb County.
Just say the word.
Okay, DeKalb County, we should be expecting, is somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000. Gwinnett County, Gwinnett County, put a pin on Gwinnett County because there may be a processing issue here. There's 7,338 ballots, but these are ballots that they already ran through the system in Gwinnett County.
Oh yeah, that's the other thing that happened is there was a corrupted memory card in one of the machines. So they're not really sure whether those ballots have already been counted or have not been counted, and so it could come down to that. And then we could have the Supreme Court weigh in on a memory card.
And it's this thing where they want to...
Anyway, the bottom line is Pennsylvania. If Biden takes Pennsylvania, Trump cannot win the election. That puts Biden over 270. That's really what we're waiting on, because if he gets Georgia, basically Trump has to win everything else. I think he can lose Nevada. But let's take a look at that. Let's go to the big... we can't.
Make sure that both ballot checkers sign off on them ahead of time. So they have to do a sort of a bureaucratic administrative step and run the ballots through again. But they may already be accounted for here. It's unlikely the vote count would change at all. It's sort of an administrative question. And then let's see here. This is a Republican county, 4,713 votes to come from there. Floyd is a Republican county, as I say. You got about 684. So I'd say, look, the two Republican counties here in this area add up to about 5,000 votes. 5,000 votes in places where there's clear opportunities for Trump, and
that's not good.
North of 10,000 in counties where there are clear opportunities for Biden. I've got to get an answer on Gwinnett, exactly what's happening, because we've had sort of
we don't
asterisk.
Know. All of these numbers don't help us, because unless we know the total and what they are coming from, it doesn't really give us any guideline. But out of those 5,000, expect Trump to take, let's say, if Trump comes in holding that at 75%, you're looking at 3,750. And out of the other, again, we don't know, because that doesn't add up to 25,000 votes, if what David is saying is correct.
On that one all day, and now it's come to this where Gwinnett is actually going to really matter here, I think, potentially. So let me get an answer on that.
Well, just between DeKalb and Clayton, seems like that's 13,000 votes alone and heavily Democratic.
Gwinnett is heavy for Gwinnett's heavy for Biden. It's plus 18 for Biden.
Counties, even if you set aside Gwinnett with whatever's going on there, I mean, that if in DeKalb and Clayton, the former vice president continues.
He's pulling out the manual calc. You go, Kernack.
To win votes at the proportions that he has been thus far. 13,000 votes coming in those counties.
Gwinnett has been a Democratic county for a long time. Hillary won Gwinnett, but only by 5.8. Biden right now is up in Gwinnett plus 18. So they've more than tripled their support in Gwinnett for the Democrats.
Is going to get you.
He could net about 7,000 votes. Net.
I was going to, yeah.
Oh, so if you were just, sorry.
No, I'm really glad that you did the math, because nobody would believe it if I said it.
I'm using the phone calculator, but he would net about 7,000, and then if you got 5,000 here, just let's say Trump did something, very strong in these counties, but he could net 2,000. That would be a total. Then it'd be about a 5,000 vote gain overall for Biden. That is math that, we're ballparking this here, but that is math that would allow Biden to vault ahead in the statewide. Count.
Really quickly, Steve, if you could do a couple more. You did Clayton.
Yep.
Did you do Richmond and Bibb yet?
Bibb, I don't think we have any outstanding vote in.
Okay, and what about Richmond?
I don't think we have any outstanding vote there either. No.
Okay, so
the bubbles that you can see there, that's the only outstanding vote.
Left. Because I guess what I'm trying to get at is the suburban counties that are around Atlanta. Right? These are how much is total around just those, just excluding what there was?
Sorry, I don't know what you guys missed. Yeah, I put my sound down a second ago. I don't know if you guys heard me saying that Kornacki's giving Trump fewer votes than I gave him because I was going off of 42 and plus 34, which is what he's taken so far in the counties in question. Yeah, it's not CNN, by the way. This is MSNBC. But yeah, Gwinnett is moving very heavily Democrat in this election.
For Trump, are you saying those are about 13,000 votes?
No, that's just between DeKalb.
Okay, David said Steve Bannon was finally banned. Well, I mean, it's in the name. From Twitter for saying Fauci and the FBI director should be beheaded. He's going to jail anyway.
And Clayton,
But just between those two.
Yes, there's about 13,000 votes outstanding.
And then you've got, here's an example, Taylor County, and this is another Trump county. We think there's about 450 votes. You see, there's a very small dot right there. We think there's about 450 there. So there are a couple. I got to piece together where these are. We got
It was on video.
A couple, a couple like that pop up too.
Here it is. Let's watch. Pulling it over. Here's Mr. Bannon.
And that's the second term. Second term kicks off with firing Wray, firing Fauci. Now, I actually want to go a step farther, but I realize the president is a kind-hearted man and a good man. I'd actually like to go back to the old times of Tudor England. I'd put the heads on pikes, right? I'd put them at the two corners of the White House as a warning to federal bureaucrats. You either get with the program or you're gone. Time to stop playing games. Blow it all out. Put Rick Grinnell today as the interim head of the FBI. That'll light him up, right?
You know what, Steve? Just yesterday there was the anniversary of the hanging.
Okay, other guy, his job is to go, well, I mean, you don't mean that. You don't literally mean that we have to put their heads on pikes. He'll come out tomorrow and he'll say, like, no, I meant like put their heads on pikes with their like, they can lean on the pike. They can do like you put the pike and just have them like this, and they can tell people, hey, be careful, you're gonna get fired. I'm still getting paid. I mean, civil service. You can't fire a civil servant, but just be careful. Wow. What's Trump's razor? It just gets worse.
And let me just, in fact, take a look here in Cobb County.
You never go full Alex
There
Jones.
might be 700 there. Again, Fulton is basically done, but there might be a couple hundred in
Trump
Fulton
is basically
as well.
done.
These tiny bubbles relative to everything. So you could factor in a couple.
Fulton is basically done.
100 potentially down here for Trump. You could factor in maybe 5,000 here for Trump. Cobb on the mail-in is definitely going to be Biden. Fulton certainly is going to be Biden. So again, he could get a couple hundred there. In Gwinnett, I need to get an answer.
Do you know, does anybody know, did they come out and do the press conference giving every single number for every single county? Did that happen while Trump was talking? Right, it would have been right before Kornacki started speaking. Did anybody see that? Because if they came out, we can actually do the math right now and give us an actual figure of the pluses and minuses. I have the spreadsheet. We could do it right now. So if anybody, what I need to know is, did Georgia tell us how many votes are left in each of these counties? Because we can run the math right now if we have that.
Because I think that's very significant.
Right.
Yeah. If Gwinnett, so again, that was just over 7,000 votes, but there may be a processing issue there, so we shouldn't hang our hats either way.
And the reason I ask about those counties, because I texted with a Georgia, the person that's around the Biden campaign, and asked them, what are the major black counties that y'all are still waiting for, or that you guys had hope in, right? And so it's interesting to me that, and was texting also just about strategy. You talked about this a lot with Philadelphia. We're now seeing the results of strategy. The Biden campaign really laid in hard on mail, and they laid in hard on mail starting really even before the convention because of COVID, because they were taking COVID seriously. They particularly zeroed in on African American voters and said put that in the mail, and they did that all the way.
They are now 0.1, but between Trump and Biden in Georgia, it is now a 0.1% difference. That is statistically insignificant.
Through the summer.
Except that it means everything. So.
When they thought maybe it was going to ease up a little bit and you could get people, but people were still scared, right? They were really worried about COVID. And so you had on the other side Donald Trump made a deliberate decision in the campaign to trash mail-in voting. He started doing this way early this year. Around May, he starts saying that it's corrupt, don't do it. Republicans were begging him not to do it. Republicans I know were saying, this is insane that we're doing this, because Republicans typically do really well.
See how Fox is handling this.
So what we're seeing now
here we go.
I don't know who fights the most, him or his father.
Oh, good. Kimberly Guilfoyle's there, so the best is yet to come! My window's open. I shouldn't yell. The neighbors are going to get scared.
That Don Jr.?
Okay, who spoke before him? We do not have that, so this is what we're going with.
You don't want to be in a ring with Don Jr. He learned it from his daddy, but he cares. He cares about this state, and he cares about this country. And they have a track record of resolving issues and addressing issues in the state of Georgia for every American. And so I want to say to the press, so you can get the word out right now, this is my last point. We ain't bullshitting. Stacey Abrams, you want a fair fight? Bring it on. Bring it on. You've been like a vacuum cleaner, getting all of this underground money.
Oh, sorry, I had my mic cut for a second there again. Yeah, sorry guys. Yeah, so I wanted to have him expand on "we ain't bullshitting." What does that mean? But they love it when they swear. Oh, he swore. Remember, Trump dropped the F-bomb earlier. I'm not even going to play that. So I'm not seeing anything on any of the Atlanta news sites about the actual remaining number of votes. So I'm going to cut it for here. I will break in throughout the evening as stuff comes in. I'll be gone for about an hour now. So starting at about 6:30 p.m. Pacific time, if anything happens, I'll jump on the air and talk to you guys about it. You know, I could just leave the chat room open. Start again. I could just leave the chat room open the whole time. No, because then nobody will know when I come back. So it's better to stop this. It's better to stop this. And we'll come back. So guys, you hang out in your own places, and when election news happens, we'll be there to break it. Let's go to this. Guys, we'll see you soon. Biden's got this, by the way.